instances of paranormal phenomena have been reported in this desolate place. Events that may reflect the area's tragic past.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Other Dangerous Podcast, where we talk all things paranormal. I'm Ken James, and this is Jason McKittrick.
Hey, folks.
And if it can haunt, howl, or dwell in the dark, we want to talk about it. And tonight, motherfuckers, we're talking about werewolves.
Werewolves.
Arrgh! But before we get into werewolves, we're going to send it over to Jay for tonight's jump scare.
All right, thanks, Jay. Okay, so for this this jump scare, it's a little personal jump scare that occurred right before I moved out of my previous residence.
Previous revenants.
That's actually pretty funny.
Yeah.
Freudian slip. So obviously in previous episodes we talked about, the creepy upstairs area and that little weird-ass little, attic room. And, I'm pulling all the stuff out, everything's out, packing up, getting out. And I take one last look at it, and I snap a pic, because I was about to send the Ken, and I was like, as I'm sending it to it, I'm typing to myself, I'm like, all right, peace out, creepy-ass basement room, or attic room. And I close the door, and as I'm sending it, I say it out loud to myself again, and I'm like, all right, peace out, I'm typing it to Ken, peace out, creepy-ass attic room. And as I say it and press send, a knock happens from the inside of the door. Yeah, little send off. That was the last night we stayed there.
Yeah, and I get a text message at work, and I put it up, and he sends me the picture. I'm like, oh, nice, man. And then immediately I just get, dude, I just heard knocking from the other side of the fucking door.
Yep, one knock.
Oh, so I end up, going to my buddy that I work with, who we mentioned on the show before, and I'm like, dude, look. I'm like, he's like, ew, what? So then I run in to talk to my, another listener, my boss, and I'm like, dude, and he's like, what? And we're just sitting there. I'm like, yeah. And then of course I go, dude, that gave me chills. And then Jay goes,
did you say chills?
He's here with us in our new studio space.
Here are the 15 reasons we don't want to hear any more about chills. Yeah. So yeah, same thing. She wasn't home. Christina wasn't home, so my wife, and so when she came back, I told her the whole thing. She was like, ew.
Yeah, it's an ew moment.
She's like, ew. She's like, ugh. She's like, I'm so glad we're getting out of here. So,
dude, yeah, it's a total ew moment, man. It's, ugh. And we said just saying goodbye, and we said it at the same time.
Yeah,
we said
they were just saying goodbye.
Oof.
And we it's kind of nutty because then afterwards, the last day we were there, moving truck is packed up, which, oh my god, but everything's packed up. They left before us because slow ass truck, so we're just doing pulling the last things out, and we just me and my wife just stood there and we're like, said goodbye to the house. And said goodbye.
Yeah.
Whoever's here. I was like, take care. Thanks for not being too creepy. And we said goodbye. And it was interesting.
It sounds very interesting.
Yeah.
It's honestly it's cool that we've gotten to chronicle this on the show.
Yeah. No, I mean it was definitely nothing in our imaginations. There was multiple people that heard the mumbling from the attic. It just it just was what it was. I mean, too bad we never got to dig up that grave on the side of the house.
But you know what? Since you didn't, that's kind of like a fuck you to the old owner,
Yeah.
Take that, motherfucker.
Yeah. So,
you should have said that when you were leaving. You were like, oh, by the way, there's a body in your yard. Peace.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I was gonna do a couple things, but I just ran out of time. I wanted to hide some things, like some creepy shit, but I just, didn't have time.
Yeah, that happens.
But, that chapter is over, but now we're sitting here in
People Like Studios.
Yeah, we now have, in my home, in the basement, we have a dedicated podcasting space.
And it's glorious, I gotta say.
We have our banner up.
Hell
we have we got our pumpkin spice candle lit.
Yep.
Got our little Flatwoods monster figurine and our Zeke the plumber.
Yeah, Zeke's here with
plushie.
us.
And we're ready to go. This is the I think this is the next stage for Other Dangers podcast.
Rumor has it the next episode might be video.
I heard there might be video if our tech guy can get his shit together. But I'm not.
You know what? Murphy's Law today. Instead of just a little history.
This was supposed to be the first video podcast.
Yeah, exactly. But hey, that and also a lot of things.
Ken, it's fine.
Yeah. A lot of things went wrong in the beginning, just setting up mics and this and that. But we got it all. We all the bugs worked out there, and we have the other bugs with the cameras being worked out as we speak. So wait, hold on, whoa.
What is it? What happened?
Something just came across the Other Dangerous podcast news desk.
They found us already?
Yeah, dude, it's a haunted headline.
Haunted headline.
All right, guys. This week's haunted headline. This Oklahoma man strangled his fishing buddy to death and blamed it on Bigfoot. Larry Sanders told police he killed his friend Jimmy Knighton because Knighton had threatened to summon Bigfoot. On July 8th, Larry Sanders and his friend Jimmy Knighton set out to do some noodling, barehanded catfishing in Oklahoma's South Canadian River. But their friendly outing turned fatal when Sanders suddenly lashed out and killed Knighton, allegedly because Knighton had threatened to summon Bigfoot. According to a statement posted by Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation on Facebook, a confrontation ensued between the two men while they were fishing. Sanders reported striking and strangling Knighton. Jesus God. And it's all apparently had to do with Knighton's threat to summon Bigfoot. Special Agent Justin Brown wrote that Sanders feared that Knighton intended to feed him to the Sasquatch/Bigfoot. Larry advised, this is a quote, Larry advised he believed Jimmy was trying to get away from him so that the Sasquatch could eat Larry. Brown explained, Larry would not let Jimmy get away. Larry punched Jimmy and struck Jimmy with a stick. Larry and Jimmy fought for an extended amount of time on the ground. Brown then added, Larry confirmed he killed Jimmy by choking him to death near the river.
All right, first off, meth is a hell of a drug, number one.
Yes.
Number two, I have a couple questions here.
Sure,
okay.
sure.
So, noodling. Are we sure we got that correct? Maybe they were canoodling.
Maybe that's what it is.
Facts don't matter anymore. So.
Yeah, right, that's true. Facts, everything upside down, cats and dogs living together.
Mass hysteria. Yeah. But my real question is the verbiage used. Summon Bigfoot?
Summon.
Like he's like a demon? Like do you have to get the Necronomicon out and say the appropriate spells and he conjures out of like a multiverse, Spider-Verse, kind of he just comes out of like this portal? I think it's more or less that he, he's in cahoots with, he has like a call. Okay.
Like, don't make me get Bigfoot out here, bro. Like, if he's in a bar fight, people are like, oh, shit, dude.
Do you think he has, like, a whistle, like Willy Wonka had for the Oompa Loompas? And then Bigfoot just smashes through the wall like the Kool-Aid Man?
It's an ocarina. And he,
So some Zelda action.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
And Bigfoot comes in and he's like, yo, who riding on?
Yeah, I still like the idea that maybe he comes to the wall like the Kool-Aid guy.
But if they're outside, there's no wall.
I'm just saying.
Does he go in? Bigfoot goes in the place of business and then comes out.
Yeah,
okay, all right.
I think it's like union policy or something. Shop steward finds out, it's fucked.
It's Bigfoot union policy.
Yeah. Well, hey,
I'll move your local Sasquatch 410.
Exactly. I'll summon Bigfoot. I'll summon OSHA. Like,
shit. Yeah. And then Bigfoot's like, look, Knighton, I want to help.
I want to help, but OSHA, no.
That's a whole another danger. Yeah.
That's 3 strikes for me, dog.
I got caught stealing CDs. CDs this week.
Yeah. Wow. Well, you know what? I just where did this happen? What meth hole of a city did this happen?
This was what was this? Oklahoma.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me make sure. Fucking lunatics. Yeah, Oklahoma. Yep, Oklahoma.
Wow. This is. I just want to say, God bless the internet for stories like this.
Yeah, it just God bless crazy folk.
Feed him to Bigfoot.
Yeah, like it's his pet or something.
Like
it's a
Bigfoot
rancor.
Strikes me as like a vegetarian.
You think?
I think so. He doesn't have sharp teeth.
Right.
Or is he more of an omnivore like humans? Like, will he go for meat sometimes, but he's fine with berries sometimes?
Sure. If he can
it's
fashion,
fucking big though.
Yeah,
I mean, caloric
if he can
intake.
fashion himself a nice little fire, he needs the fats. He needs,
I don't think he needs the fire.
He's
eating that shit raw.
Probably.
Yeah.
But yeah. But I mean, if we're talking like it's like the messing with Sasquatch, Bigfoot.
Okay. I mean, that guy. Well, that guy's.
He beats up. He knocks one guy off into the camp.
Yeah.
And then he comes in, and he's like, "Oh, cool, s'mores."
I think that Sasquatch is the meth Sasquatch. The regular one is just like Harry and the Hendersons. Just
I think
chill.
the meth Sasquatch is in Florida.
Well, yeah, it doesn't matter what state. You know what I'm talking about? That's where they filmed those. That was a real Sasquatch.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I go find one of those fucking Sasquatches. Just fuck with him.
And offer him meth to be in the movie.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So another big hairy creature, werewolves.
Whoa!
Whoa! Segue. Ding,
like it.
ding, ding.
Awful.
Yeah.
I would say werewolves, kind of like the working class monster. Think about it. He's always in always in flannels, always in
Exactly.
jeans, always breaking through.
It's why they're my favorite.
Always an inconvenience. He's like, fuck, I gotta do this again.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like he's always got the deadlines. He's like, fuck, it's gonna be, he's always got to schedule all his planning. I can't go on vacation this week because full moon.
He's in there and he's doing one of these. He's like,
Yeah.
honey, full moon. Week we're going to Disney.
Speaking of werewolves, I saw the greatest T-shirt of all time a couple years ago.
Okay.
It was a werewolf that lived on the moon, so he could be a werewolf all the time.
That's awesome.
Right?
Man, that's like, how do you get, like, is it?
Oh, he worked for NASA.
Okay, I was going to say, does no Elon Musk?
No, he had like an astronaut thing on, but like I think he was like maybe he didn't know he was a werewolf. He gets up to the moon
And he's like,
bam.
fuck. Oh, okay. First time seeing the moon full.
I don't know.
I don't
Or
know.
maybe just too much of that moon power. I thought it was awesome. I was like, that's
Yeah,
genius.
that's sick. That's sick. But
Yeah.
is he there alone all the time?
I mean, that begs the question. I mean, he can go up there and be like, "This is amazing," but it's like, yeah, what are you going to do?
Yeah, just jump
Rip
around.
apart the rest of the crew who flies us home.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. What a great T-shirt,
It is a great T-shirt.
nonetheless.
Werewolves, sir. Werewolves. So
Werewolves.
we're gonna do our usual little historical overview. Then we'll talk about some pop culture stuff, and get cute towards the end. I'm sure we'll have more drinks, so it'll get more fun the longer we go. So a werewolf, or occasionally a lycanthrope, is a human with the ability to shapeshift into a wolf, either purposely, right?
Yeah.
Or after being placed under a curse or affliction, often a bite or scratch from another werewolf.
Yeah.
With the transformations occurring on the night of a full moon. So early sources for the belief in this ability or affliction, called lycanthropy, are these early philosophers, Petronius. I don't know if he came up with the Patron.
Tequila.
He could have. He was Roman. Does it check
maybe.
out?
I'll go with it.
All right. So, the werewolf is a widespread concept in European folklore, existing in many variants which are related by a common development of a Christian interpretation of underlying European folklore developed during the medieval period. So basically it's like you have all the pagan stuff that kind of leaks into it.
Sure.
These pagan rites where people go put on the skin of a wolf, go under the full moon, start doing some dances, having a good time, and like, I am a wolf now.
Yeah, that's kind of like that's like the fun, that's the fun werewolf that I want to be real. Like you just got to do all this shit and then you're there.
Yeah, no, it's totally like the one dude that was like, I'm not gonna name him names, but the crazy guy in your crew like has a little too much to drink, and he's like, I'm a fucking werewolf now, and people are like, he's not a wolf. You're like, well, he thinks he is. Just let him do his thing. and then you get fucking werewolves.
Yeah.
Belief in werewolves developed in parallel to the belief in witches. In the course of the late Middle Ages and early modern period. Like the witchcraft trials as a whole, the trial of supposed werewolves emerged in what is now Switzerland in the early 15th century and spread through Europe in the 16th, peaking in the 17th and subsiding by the 18th century. That means there were still werewolf trials going on in the 1700s. Werewolf trials.
Yeah.
So
I was born in the wrong time period.
So you're saying you would have enjoyed being persecuted as a werewolf?
Oh my god! Could you imagine though how much fun? Like, let's say you are the crazy drunk guy in your crew, and they get you and they're like, "Dude, you're a werewolf," and you're in there. You're like, "Yo, maybe the fuck I am, dog." You're
like
out there.
you come home and like you see what all these people doing in my house. Like, sit down, man. We have to have a talk. You're like the intervention. You're like, yeah, but I'm a fucking werewolf.
Yeah, you're you're like, well, put the shackles on me.
Yeah.
What will they do?
Yeah, exactly.
What forest will thou do with
like Monster Squad?
Yeah.
Lock me up!
Yeah,
no.
Yep.
The persecution, like we said, of werewolves and the associated folklore is an integral part of the witch hunt phenomenon. Accusations of lycanthropy being involved in only a small fraction of witchcraft trials. Which is crazy. That means that like every once in a while they're like, we need more on this woman. We need something else. Say she transforms into a wolf. Her neighbor saw her transform into a wolf twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait. And then, oh, dude, you can and The gasps,
Yep.
you know. They're like, holy shit, bombshell.
However, in 1589, the case of Peter Stump.
This guy rocks.
Yeah.
I like this guy.
Oh, whoa. Led to a significant peak in both interest and in persecution of supposed werewolves, primarily in French-speaking and German-speaking Europe, which is crazy because you have, the Beast of Gévaudan, and then you have this guy who...
oh, this is the guy that ate the kids?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, never mind. He doesn't rock. This guy doesn't rock.
No.
Sorry.
No.
Wrong guy.
Yeah. Now, this guy... yeah. Wow.
Wait, rewind time. Rewind time. I don't mean... No, he doesn't rock. This guy doesn't rock. His name rocks, not just the tip.
Right. So during 1589, Stump, should I just do that with the whole thing? Yeah, you like that?
Yeah.
All right. Had one of the most lurid and famous werewolf trials in history. After being stretched on a rack and before further torture commenced, he confessed to having practiced black magic since he was 12 years old. He claimed that the devil had given him a magical belt or girdle, which enabled him to metamorphose into the likeness of a greedy, devouring wolf, strong and mighty, with eyes great and large, which in the night sparkled like fire, and mouth great and wide, with most sharp and cruel teeth, a huge body, and mighty paws, quote unquote.
You delivered on that one, pal.
Thanks, buddy. Removing the belt, he said, made him transform back to his human form. No such belt was ever found after his arrest.
They had to throw that.
Yeah, they had to. Yeah, we didn't find that fucking belt because the one cop was like, I want to be a fucking werewolf.
Yeah, Joe.
The constable, whatever he was called back then,
Or he did find it and, moved to another country.
We'll have to go check the case files.
Yeah, right.
The ones that are on parchment written with a fucking feather pen.
Yes.
No, he disappeared afterwards, but there was another. So for 25 years, Stump had allegedly been an insatiable bloodsucker who gorged on the flesh of goats, lambs, and sheep, as well as men, women, and children. Being threatened with torture, he confessed to killing and eating 14 children, 2 pregnant women, whose fetuses he ripped from their wombs and ate their hearts panting hot and raw.
Ryan, put it in a movie.
I think he already did. Which he later described as dainty morsels. One of the 14 children was his own son, whose brain he was reported to have devoured. Not only was Stump accused of being a serial murderer and cannibal, but also of having an incestuous relationship with his daughter. He's just checking all the boxes.
Yeah, yep,
He's like, you know what? Go big or go home.
Yeah.
Who was sentenced to die with him, and that he had coupled with a distant relative, which was also considered to be incestuous according to the law. In addition to this, he confessed to having had intercourse with a succubus sent to him by the devil. That's the cherry on top.
But then also, like, he went bowling with people's heads. He played,
Yeah. They were just
He was like, I gotta do all this shit.
Yep, check this out. The execution of Stump, which occurred on Halloween, October 31st, 1589, alongside his daughter Sybil and mistress Catherine, which is kind of fucked up. She only got executed, I mean, it's 1589.
Yeah.
Because, the incestuous thing, I'm sure he forced her.
Yeah.
Is one of the most brutal on record. He was put to a wheel where flesh was torn from his body in 10 places with red-hot pincers, followed by his arms and legs. Then his limbs were broken with the blunt side of an axe head to prevent him from returning from the grave, before he was beheaded and body turned on a pyre.
Beautiful.
So, his daughter and mistress had already been flayed and strangled and were burned along with Stump's body. As a warning against similar behavior, local authorities erected a pole with the torture wheel and the figure of a wolf on it, and at the very top they placed Peter Stump's severed head.
Yeah, I'm sure they killed the mistress and daughter because of, like, he must have bit them and scratched them.
Yeah.
So they're gonna turn.
Sure. I mean, if you want to go that route. This is also an antiquated attempt to explain why,
Someone would do anything like that?
Yeah. And that's basically what we're trying to get to here. This gentleman, the werewolf of Bedburg,
Here in Bedburg.
You think Scrooge would be able to handle that one? Do you think it'd be a one-episode DuckTales kind of adventure? Or do you think they'd stretch it to 2?
I think once they told him what he did, he'd just be like, we're getting the fuck out of here. He just that was my Scottish.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
He would do. He has his gold money bin, right? But he would have his lesser known silver money bin, and they'd have to transport him with launch pad. Would have to pick him up with a helicopter.
And he has a gun that fires silver.
No. Drops him into the silver money bin. As soon as contact, boom, into dust.
Right.
Yep. And then Mrs. Beakley is like,
Scrooge McDuck.
Yeah.
At it again.
Yep. Webby's like, oh God. And, Huey, Dewey, and Louie are just there to add, yeah.
They threw them in the pit, too.
Yeah. They're like, you know what, I fucking had it.
Yeah.
Yep. So, after the end of the witch trials, the werewolf became of interest in folklore studies and in the emerging gothic horror genre. No, not those goths. Werewolf fiction as a genre has pre-modern precedents in medieval romances and developed to the 18th century out of the semi-fictional chapbook tradition. And the trappings of horror literature in the 20th century became part of the horror and fantasy genre of modern popular culture. I mean, they're ubiquitous. They're everywhere. If you have a monster movie, I mean, if you have you're not going to go too far. You start, going through the horror section of either movies, books, whatever, you're going to come across a werewolf, either character or film or just complete story.
Sure.
Pretty fucking soon.
Yeah.
So the word werewolf comes from the old English word werewolf. I listened.
Werewolves.
Werewolves. I don't know. God. Which means a man wolf.
Get out of town.
Yeah, right? I poured over that all night long just to come up with that. I was like, you know what? The term lycanthropy, referring both to the ability to transform oneself into a wolf and the act of so doing, comes from the ancient Greek, oh boy.
Take a shot.
Leukos anthropos, which means human wolf.
Beautiful.
The word does occur in ancient Greek sources, but only in late antiquity. Yeah, so it was viewed as a disease by then. And then also we have the Slavic term of the wow. Whew. We'll try.
Get it.
Vilkodlak.
That's beautiful. Dude, you nailed it. Second try.
Hey, you say it. I mean, there's no native Slavic speakers here. So. Which means wolf skin. So kind of goes with the whole idea of like
wearing the fur, causing ruckus. Wearing the skins, causing a ruckus, you become a werewolf.
All right, this immediately makes me think of. Did you see The Northman yet?
No, I got it.
Dude, there's the berserker scene.
Okay.
So they have the scene where they start getting like they take the mushrooms and like whatever, and they have the wolf skins on, and they start fucking they start like raging like it's
I gotta watch it. I'm falling off.
You gotta watch that. I mean, I want to go into this.
No, I will because
and folks, if you haven't seen it, give yourself a night, turn the lights off, and just experience it because it's an artistic experience. I highly recommend it.
I've been like cleansing my mental palate. I've just been like watching Man vs. Food.
Okay. What about the Carbonara Effect?
I haven't watched that in a while.
And if you want magic,
watch the fucking Carbonara.
Yeah, or something.
Beautiful callback. Nice. Fick rewind. Nice.
So then we have our ancient Greek kind of sources for this. We have in Greek mythology, we have Lycaon, where we get the word for lycanthropy, which means wolf, which is the most popular version of myth, tested Zeus's omniscience by serving him the roasted flesh of his own son.
Oh, wonderful.
In order to see whether Zeus was truly all-knowing. In return for these gruesome deeds, Zeus transformed Lycaon, I think that's right, into a wolf and killed his offspring. So, yeah.
Zeus was like, wait, what?
He just looked at it. He was like, that's your kid. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Wolf.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and your offspring?
Yeah.
Dead.
Yeah. Well, it's, it's,
Wait, he's like, wait, that's one of your kids? He's like, all right, I'm killing the rest. You can't, you know what? They're not going for adoption. You can't have kids. They're all dead.
Yeah. The interesting thing about all of this, because there is we're doing werewolves as a blanket statement here. It's almost in every culture, like the desire to transform into a more powerful creature. Yeah. Specifically the wolf, which was to be honest was
apex predator.
And in our early years of humanity, wolves were fucking feared, man.
Yeah.
They were pack hunters, smart, and they could come in and do some real fucking damage.
Yeah, before the gun was invented.
Sure. So I mean, it's from everywhere. We just mentioned Greek, but then, and like I mentioned from the movie I was talking about, there's the the Viking. They have their own
lore and legends.
Their own lore where they have multiple characters in their sagas that suggest that men would wear the skins of wolves and would give them these abilities and these powers. There's tons of quote unquote Slavic werewolf tales. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, to try to just bring this apart.
Ireland too, though, that whole clan, that the tales about them, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's everywhere, and it almost seems like whatever culture you're talking about, it's like whenever they come in contact, you have maybe these conquering forces or just these other forces coming in from the inside. They view the the local pagans or indigenous or whatever it is as almost like animalistic. So then you get these ideas that come in where it's like, oh, they have powers, but they're just more in tune with the whole like natural
and also they're probably just better fighters too.
Probably.
Yeah. They're like, oh, they must have been wolves. It was, it's like Jim. You went to one karate class. Come on.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. You're not, you don't know karate. You went to one class.
Yeah. You've never been in a black belt competition, Jim.
No. He's like, it's like Daniel LaRusso learning out of a book in his kitchen.
Right. Right. He hasn't met. Yeah.
Fucking hate him. So, Ken, the characteristics of a werewolf.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
So, the beliefs classed together under lycanthropy are far from uniform, obviously.
Far from it.
And the term is somewhat capriciously applied.
Whoa.
Oh. The transformation by a temporary or permanent. The were animal may be the man himself metamorphized, maybe his double whose activity leaves the real man to all appearance unchanged, maybe his soul, which goes forth seeking whomever it may devour, leaving its body in a state of trance. That's kind of interesting. Or it may be no more than the messenger of the human being. Really weird. A real animal or a familiar spirit whose intimate connection with its owner is shown by the fact that an injury to it is believed by a phenomenon known as repercussion to cause a corresponding injury to the human being, right? So, like, you get these ones that, like a witch or whatever they're talking about, falls asleep and they go in this trance-like state, and they send out this spectral wolf. Mm-hmm. Right? That's a metal band. Spectral Wolf.
Spectral Wolf is totally a metal band.
I like it. So they send out, she or he, whatever, sends out this spectral wolf, and it gets shot, right?
Right.
It takes the injury, and then when she wakes back up, or they wake up from the trance, she has the same injury. Like, let's say she got shot in the shoulder, and she has a bullet wound. It's like, I shot that fucking wolf. Look, she's got it.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
Look, you pulled the bullet out. Look, I put my initials on it.
Swim the witch. And then,
Right. So are we to believe that witches and werewolves are like the history's that there to tie them together? It's like they are the witches and werewolves, huh?
Yeah. I mean,
but one's real. That's what I go.
I mean, let's be glad werewolves aren't real.
Oh, okay.
I want them to be real, but at the same time, could you imagine that kind of shit? You have to deal with like a wolf, the powers of a wolf, but the intelligence of a human.
Yeah, and especially if it's like a smart motherfucker.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, like waits till he gets inside. Hey, how's it going? Then he just wolfs out. Yeah. Fuck. Like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, right. You better have your silver or
I think there'd be
Scrooge
a lot of
McDuck around.
Yeah, by now there'd be a lot of like, you couldn't even like get in the house. They'd there'd be like silver sprinklers in your house.
Right.
It's like, oh, there's a werewolf. Just push the button.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, when you get like whatever security system put in.
Yeah.
You have your Ring doorbell alarm. Yeah. And it's like, werewolf out front of your house.
It would scan the face. It would know that it's a werewolf.
Yeah. And you're like, fuck, I gotta wait an hour.
Yep. Yep.
You're like, honey, I'm on my way home from work. Can you go kill that werewolf?
Yeah. And it would probably be almost like, it wouldn't even get that far at this point. It would be like, you wouldn't even hear it.
Yeah, it's true.
But, werewolves were said in European folklore to bear telltale physical traits even in their human form. All right, that's how the Ring camera would get them.
Yeah.
These include the meeting of both eyebrows. Fucking Bert and Ernie. Bert's a fucking werewolf.
Yeah.
Curved fingernails, low set ears, and a swinging stride. So yeah, if you're looking for, you're out in public, you want to start spotting werewolves, and totally, you can just, pass judgment. That's a werewolf. Just freak out. Just start pointing. One method of identifying a werewolf in its human form was to cut the flesh of the accused under the pretense that fur would be seen within the wound.
That's sick.
Yeah. A Russian superstition recalls a werewolf can be recognized by bristles under the tongue. Weird. So they had hair under their tongue. The appearance of a werewolf...
But how would you catch that?
Well, I mean... hold on.
Lift your tongue.
In Soviet Russia, I don't know. They would just pull you aside and just be like, here, let me say. Like, yeah, there's stuff under there.
Yeah.
These are all, these, like, they pull these people in. Same kind of witch trial kind of stuff.
Right.
It's like, what would make this guy a werewolf? They just sit there.
The bristles under the tongue.
Yeah. They're like, yes, Igor. Yeah. The appearance of a werewolf in its animal form varies from culture to culture, though it's most commonly portrayed as being indistinguishable from ordinary wolves, save from the fact that it has no tail, which is really weird, because that kind of fell off.
Yeah.
which I also want to talk about. We'll get there in a second. It's often larger and retains human eyes and a voice. A talking werewolf. I'm into it. According to some Swedish accounts, the werewolf could be distinguished from a regular wolf by the fact that it would run on 3 legs, stretching the 4th one backwards to look like a tail. What?
Where does that, like, who?
Swedes.
Yeah, but even that, like, what?
It's weird. I think that's the whole idea. Like, oh, it's doing unnatural movement and behavior. And it's like, oh, which? You know? After returning to their human forms, werewolves are usually documented as becoming weak, debilitated, and undergoing painful nervous depression. Interesting. One universally reviled trait in medieval Europe was the werewolf's habit of devouring recently buried corpses, a trait that is documented extensively, particularly in the Annales Medico-Psychologiques in the 19th century. Okay, 2 things there, right? First off, there's two things I want to hit there. But first, all right, the werewolf without a tail, right? Mm-hmm. Me personally, I think there's a distinction between a werewolf and a wolfman.
Right.
Okay? So wolfman is more like your universal monster.
Yeah, classic wolfman.
Okay? No tail, wolf-like, but doesn't have a snout.
Yeah.
Transforms, doesn't have a tail, but has this but still very much maintains that anthropomorphic look.
It's more human than wolf.
Yes. All right. For me, a werewolf is it still has human traits. It has the tail. It can stand up still, but it's covered in fur. It has a snout.
Yeah.
It's more of this wolf with some human characteristics. You know what I mean? It can still run on all 4s, but it can stand up too.
Yeah, then it gets up and it's ready to square up.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Sure.
Much longer fingers, not just the nails.
Right. So
knees bent the other way.
Yeah. It has the what is that? Digitigrade legs.
You would know the words.
Sorry. So. Yeah, I think I never see that distinction made, and I think there should be one. Unless someone has and I missed it. But I think wolfman and werewolf, to me, are 2 very different things.
Honestly, it hasn't ever been distinguished, I don't think. And I would know.
Right.
And I would know. Being a wolfman myself.
Allegedly.
I got the furs, bro. I'll go wolfing.
All right.
No.
So then secondly here, which I think is also interesting because we kind of touched on it before, but like I said, after returning to their human forms, werewolves are usually documented as becoming weak, debilitated, and undergoing painful nervous depression. I think a lot of these, and this, I'm not the first clearly to say this,
it's hangovers.
No, they use these monster things to try to explain mental illness.
Okay.
Right? Okay. So you have this guy who, he's manic for a month or manic for whatever, going berserk. What? This is not my son. He doesn't act like this. And then he's weak from being the wolf.
Yeah, I don't.
I
don't care.
There was a book that came out. I can't remember the title. It was over a decade, and it was about this kind of stuff. Where these monster origins?
Okay.
Where did it come from? And a lot of it were ancient people's attempts at explaining these mental disorders or physical disorders or just these things that they just didn't understand.
Right.
So that's a vampire. Oh, that's a werewolf. Oh, that's a witch. And werewolf comes up a lot for these spree frenzy killers. What would make a person do that? Oh, there's obviously half wolf.
Right.
Or obviously. So I think it's interesting to you dig back into the stuff to see
Sure. I mean, and we've gone over plenty of topics here on other dangerous podcasts where it's of course the history is something not yet diagnosed, and it's way more fun to be come on, man, it can't just be the people get sad. How about
here we are, 2022. It's people just get sad.
Yeah, people just get sad.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's there's all kinds of mania, and that is kind of like a bipolar person, right?
Could be.
A werewolf's more of a bipolar person or a manic depressant or someone that.
Who knows? I mean, back then there was no medical board overseeing this kind of stuff. They were still going by the 4 humors. What was it? Yellow bile, black bile, sweat and peepees. I forget what it was.
Sweat and peepees.
What was it?
It was sweat and peepees.
Okay,
that's what it was. But it's funny. Anytime I think of a doctor in these times, I go to Mel Brooks and Dracula Dead and Loving It.
Sure.
As his version of Van Helsing.
Right.
That's what a medical doctor was back then to me. You know what I mean?
Right.
We should have put newspapers down. That. That's what doctors were back then, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
I know it's like that. It's give them a lobotomy, cut the limb off. You know,
Right.
like those are the
sure.
those are the things.
Those are the two. That's all.
How do we know that if my daughter's a Grigori or not? It's like, well, we let the blood, we make them eat an entire onion, you know, and then we punch them in the face 7 times.
Yeah.
And if they cry, Grigori.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It seems legit.
Yeah, right.
Right. So, becoming a werewolf, Ken. So let me know if this one was one of the things that transformed you.
Sure.
Various methods for becoming a werewolf have been reported. One of the simplest being the removal of clothing and putting on a belt made of wolfskin. Like we covered.
Don't have a wolfskin belt.
You know what? Let's go to a Ren fair. You know they got them.
Oh yeah.
Pick up 2 wolf belts. That'll be our October experiment.
Right.
Just run around with just wolf belts on. Wolf
and just go to the
belts.
bars in the area.
Yeah, we're going wolfing. See how many we get kicked out of.
Yeah.
And
And they try to kick us out. We're like, listen, buddy.
listen, this is an experiment.
And we just point to the belts. We're like,
Yeah.
you sure you want to do this?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And the bouncer's like, whoa, man.
Yeah. I don't know. Probably a substitute for the assumption of an entire animal skin, okay, which is also frequently described. In other cases, the body is rubbed with a magic salve, drinking rainwater out of the footprint of the animal in question, or the certain enchanted streams were also considered effectual modes of accomplishing metamorphosis. Yeah, this one is actually in that movie, to bring it back to last week, or 2 weeks ago, for Communion. Whitley Strieber's first book, Wolfen.
Yeah.
There's a scene that describes this. It's the detective is trying to figure out what these creatures are,
Right.
and he comes to this I think the guy's like South American or something. He's like a shaman, like some kind of thing, and he's like, oh yeah, werewolves, oh hell yeah, and so he follows him out to the beach, and it's on full moon, and this guy goes out there and he just strips naked, and then I don't know where the wolf comes into it. There's some they have a wolf there or something, and the footprint's there, and he drinks the water out of, and the moon has to be reflecting from the water in the paw print, and he drinks it, and then he gets up and but then just starts acting berserk.
Yeah.
And then the detective's just like,
He's like, you know what, though? He's like,
I respect it.
Yeah, he's like, that's kind of cool. But also in the same breath, the guy started acting berserk. It's probably because he got some kind of disease or something.
Yeah.
From a footprint of an animal.
Yeah.
He got rabies.
Yeah.
That wolf or whatever had rabies. There's water in it. Coinky dink.
The bite makes more sense.
Yeah, the bite.
Getting rabies.
Sure.
That's another. Werewolf.
Yeah. Right.
So the 16th century Swedish writer Olaus Magnus said that the Livonian werewolves were initiated by draining a cup of specifically prepared beer and preparing a set formula. Okay?
This is the one that did it for me, by the way.
Yeah, in Italy, France, and Germany, it was said that a man or a woman could turn into a werewolf if he or she, on a certain Wednesday or Friday, slept outside on a summer night with the full moon shining directly on his or her face.
On his or her butt. Full moon, butt.
Okay, I see the correlation, but that's not written here.
Right,
are you giving us an inside track, Mr.
I'm just
Werewolf?
telling you, dude, I don't think they know all of the stuff.
No, they don't. They're just adding stuff. We can add stuff today if you want.
Yeah, I just did.
Sure, okay. In other cases, the transformation was supposedly accomplished by satanic allegiance for the most loathsome ends, often for the sake of sating a craving for human flesh.
This is the most realistic.
Yeah.
I mean, you would know.
Sure. The Werewolves, which was written in 1628, this passage and weird archaic spellings, I'll do my best, are certain sorcerers who, having anointed their bodies with an ointment which they make by the instinct of the devil, and putting on a certain enchanted girdle, does not only unto the view of others seem as wolves, but to their own thinking have both the shape and nature of wolves, so long as they wear the said girdle. And they do dispose themselves as very wolves in worrying and killing the most of humane creatures.
See, that just sounds like those were haters that made that up.
Okay.
Because it's some guy at the time that wanted to look good.
Yeah.
He pops on his girdle, my skin has to look good.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
like, I'm just trying to look good. And they're
Right.
just like, that guy's a werewolf because he looks better than,
Sounds like Nandor trying to describe it.
Exactly. Well, that's what it is. That's what it is.
They show the things from the past. It's like, oh.
He's like, why do they not want to sleep with me, but they want to sleep with Girdle Salveman? Oh, it's because he's a werewolf.
Yeah, exactly. You can never be too careful.
You can't. You shouldn't.
So the phenomenon of repercussion, the power of animal metamorphosis, or of sending out a familiar, real or spiritual, as a messenger, and the supernatural powers conferred by association with such a familiar, are also attributed to the magician, male and female, all the world over, and which superstitions are closely parallel to, if not identical with, lycanthropic beliefs. The occasional involuntary character of lycanthropy being almost the sole distinguishing feature. That was a runonsentence.com.
.org.
In another direction, the phenomenon of repercussion is asserted to manifest itself in connection with the bush soul of the West African and the Nagual of Central America. Remember we talked about that?
Yeah.
From that episode of Fear? MTV's Fear.
And by the way,
I'm not the one who's
so I said on this
away.
podcast, because I saw it on a commercial,
Yeah.
that on Paramount Plus,
Yeah.
MTV Sphere was supposed to be on there.
Yeah.
Because the commercial said it was going to be on there.
Bull Dinkies?
I got Paramount Plus. Guess what's not on there?
Yeah.
But guess what is?
What?
Legends of the Hidden Temple. I think you said.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Global Guts.
Yeah.
And a bunch of awesome old Nickelodeon game shows.
Kurt Fogg, if you're listening, we're fucking coming for you. We'll elaborate later on.
Let's rock.
Another, which I also found interesting here, is the curse of lycanthropy was also considered by some scholars as being a divine punishment.
Right, like Zeus.
Right? Yeah. Werewolf literature shows werewolf literature. I love it. That needs to be a section at every Barnes & Noble. Where's the werewolf literature?
Sir, I'm looking for the... And he slams, and he's like, shh.
That's next to the Witch Arcana. It's right to the...
Which Arcana?
Werewolf literature shows many examples of gods or saints allegedly cursing those who invoke their wrath with lycanthropy. Jesus. Such is the case of Lycaon, who we talked about, who was turned to a wolf by Zeus. And there were those who were excommunicated by the Roman Catholic Church, were also said to become werewolves. That's interesting. If you got excommunicated, you became a werewolf.
I mean, more reason to do it.
I mean, if it's like, wait, hold on. Father, excuse me. If you excommunicate me, I become a werewolf. He's like, yeah.
And you just punch the priest in the face.
Seriously,
Yeah.
just uppercut. Just
boo. Yeah, and he's like, get out. And you're like, "Hurr!" You fucking gallop
You just
out
go,
of
you
there.
just rip.
And they're like, whoa, how does he have flannel back this time?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, everything you're saying to me here, it just sounds fun.
Yeah, nothing about being a werewolf, especially in history,
Yep.
turns me away from it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I might, in the night go and kill some people and eat them. It's
Yeah.
like, but I'm sure they were dicks. That's why I targeted them.
How about this one, though?
Sure.
A notable exception to the association of lycanthropy and the devil comes from a rare and lesser-known account of an 80-year-old man named Theus in 1692 in Jurgensburg, Livonia. These, hey man, that's right
That's not
here.
a real place.
Probably not. These testified under oath that he and other werewolves were the hounds of God. He claimed that they were warriors who descended into hell to battle witches and demons.
Dude.
If there's not a metal album about this,
Dude.
werewolves in hell battling witches and demons. Dude, that sounds like a fucking Skyrim section.
I also think that we need to make a graphic novel about this.
Yeah, their efforts ensured that the devil and his minions did not carry off the grain from local failed crops down to hell. Dude, it always comes with some wacky bullshit at the end.
Yeah.
Theus was steadfast in his assertions, claiming that werewolves in Germany and Russia also did battle with the devil's minions in their own versions of hell, and insisted that when werewolves died, their souls were welcomed into heaven as a reward for their service. Theus was ultimately sentenced to 10 lashes for idolatry and superstitious belief. Because the local priest was like, hold on, let me consider it for a second. He's thinking about heaven. You know, you're up there, the angels strumming their little lutes up there.
And there's just some werewolf like...
Yeah, there's some hulking beast. Fruit Brute walks into frame like...
Yeah.
And they're like...
And he's trying to clap, but it's just like... His nails...
One angel comes by, heaven has fleas. Fucking great.
Yeah. They're like, who ate St. Peter's guts? Mm-hmm. And he's just sitting there with like an intestine hanging out, and he's like...
That might be that might be the coolest sentence I've read in a long time. He claimed that they were warriors who descended into hell to battle witches and demons. That's awesome.
I love it.
Good guy werewolves. And you know what?
I wish that was the kind of werewolf I could.
Finally.
Yeah, finally. You know what? Werewolves been getting a bad rap.
They really have, because you know what? They always get the short end of the stick. They're always like, you get the... association with their dogs, that they're lower, they're, the dumb
and they're
one.
like the toughest, they're the strongest, they're the fastest, but then like vampires come along like, oh no, we're faster, we're tough, and we cut your head off, man. It's like, come on.
I mean, these things happen. So remedies, Ken.
Sure.
Remedies.
Remedy.
Various methods have existed for removing the werewolf form. In antiquity, the ancient Greeks and Romans believed in the power of exhaustion in curing people of lycanthropy. The victim would be subjected to long periods of physical activity in the hope of being purged of the malady. So they'd send them to fucking boot camp?
Yeah, right. They would just like you do with like a dog. You put them on, like, on the leash on the treadmill and let them just go until he's like, I'm done.
So yeah, this practice stemmed from the fact that many alleged werewolves would be left feeling weak and debilitated after committing depredations.
Yeah, they're just like, because they're out just like
out.
eating and fucking, and then they're like, he's tired now. That's they're just like, I've eaten and I fucked so much. They're like, what else? They're like, I gotta sleep.
Yep.
I gotta sleep.
Yep. And then, famously, in medieval Europe, traditionally, there are 3 methods one can use to cure a victim of lycanthropy. Medicinally, using wolfsbane, surgically, or by exorcism. However, many of the cures advocated by medieval medical practitioners prove fatal to the patients. No shit.
Yeah, and also, too, if there were really, werewolves, the exorcism, it's like, we lost so many priests.
We have so many, A Sicilian belief... a Sigi belief of
10% of my
I'm sorry,
DNA.
I'm just fucking around. A Sicilian belief of Arabic origin holds that a werewolf can be cured of his ailment by striking it on the forehead or scalp with a knife.
Also a Sicilian belief that you just give it enough gabagool, it's down for the count. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, I think that's what they do. I mean, if you're a Sicilian werewolf, you just,
They just raid the fridge for gabagool.
Yeah,
and the guy comes in and is like, oh, who's in my fridge?
Yeah.
Who's in my fridge? And they look and they see, they're like, oh, there's another fucking werewolf in my fridge. Hey, fucking.
Yeah, I like that he's American.
Maron. Maron.
Yeah. R.I.P. Paulie.
Yeah. Man, we've lost a lot since the last podcast.
Another belief from the same culture involves the piercing of the werewolf's hands with nails. How are you holding down a fucking werewolf?
First of all,
he's pure, dude. That guy's 100% pure adrenaline.
We're like crucifying werewolves now.
Yeah,
that's what we're doing.
I guess sometimes less extreme methods were used in the German lowland of Schleswig-Holstein.
Nailed it.
Thanks. A werewolf could be cured if one were to simply address it 3 times by its Christian name. While one,
Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice, yeah. While one Danish belief holds that merely scolding a werewolf will cure it. Like, hey, stop! Fucking stop it,
Dave.
Yeah.
I'm tired of this shit.
Dave, stop.
Done. We're like,
both bases.
You ate all the gabagool. Knock it off. Dad's pissed.
Conversion to Christianity is also a common method of removing lycanthropy in the medieval period. And then a devotion to Saint Hubert has also been cited as both cure for and protection from lycanthropes. We gotta look into Saint Hubert.
Saint Hubert, right? I think there's a Saint Hubert's out by me.
Is there?
I think so.
What's he up to?
Sainthood.
Let me see. I'm looking him up. You can keep this in.
Sure.
Saint Hubert. Let's see. I'm reading here. Basically just a punk bitch. So we're just gonna go back. He didn't do nothing. They're just like.
You know who put that Saint Hubert thing in there?
Who?
Saint Hubert.
Probably. He's like, hey, put the werewolf thing in.
He's
there.
like,
the Pope's like, no.
Yeah, but no, he's like,
we're not putting.
He's like, listen, Pope. He's like, did you hear what I can do?
Yeah.
You invoke me. Yeah. Werewolves are done.
Yeah.
They're done.
You wolf down your dinner that does not give you the ability to stop werewolves.
He's like, fuck you, Pope.
Yeah.
He's like, fuck you, Pope.
He's like, I'm going to start my own church with hookers and coke.
Yeah.
And werewolves.
Yeah, and werewolves.
I got to go with this one. This is a great one because this comes into that like Eastern European belief of like the revenant, right? Yeah. So before the end of the 19th century, the Greeks believed that the corpses of werewolves, dude, now we're talking about zombie werewolves, if not destroyed, would return to the life in the form of wolves or hyenas, which prowled battlefields, drinking the blood of dying soldiers.
Oh, yeah. That deserves the Wendigo riff.
Like
beautiful.
Drinking the blood of dying soldiers. In the same vein, in some rural areas of Germany, Poland, and northern France, it was once believed that people who died in mortal sin came back to life as blood-drinking wolves. These undead werewolves...
Guys, we're going to take a quick commercial break.
Yeah. These undead werewolves return to their human corpse form at daylight. They were dealt with by decapitation with a spade and exorcism by the parish priest. Dude, this is like Castlevania.
Right. Well, the crazy thing is too, it's like, they just go back to being dead.
Hold on. The head would then be thrown into a stream where the weight of its sins was thought to weigh it down. That's some emo shit right there.
Yeah.
The weight of my sins
It's weighing me down.
cuddling close to blankets and sheets.
Don't you see? Don't you
All right,
see?
Sometimes the same methods.
The weight of my head. Sorry. You started this, dude. I don't hear it.
I told you it was going to seep in.
Yep.
Sometimes the same methods used to dispose of ordinary vampires would be used. The vampire was also linked to the werewolf in Eastern Europe countries, particularly Bulgaria, Serbia, and Slovenia. In Serbia, the werewolf and vampire are known collectively as the Vulkodlak.
Yeah, they are.
They're the same fucking thing. Which is interesting because if you think about it, in the novel Dracula has all the powers.
Oh, yeah. He turns into wolves. He turns into a werewolf. He's like, dude, when he's, he's like fucking legit.
Yeah.
He's like fucking legit.
As the werewolf, you mean,
As a werewolf.
you mean Lucy?
He's
Yeah.
fucking Lucy as a fucking werewolf.
All right, werewolf guy.
I'm sorry,
Take it
man.
easy.
I just, I'm...
Ken. Stop.
Oh, wait. Where am I?
But I'm saying...
Oh, the
that's-
Dangerous Podcast.
that's-
What? We're in People Like Studios? I'm sorry.
Okay.
No, I just came out of
All right.
my dates.
All right, okay. Are you a werewolf?
Right now, no.
Okay, all right. Just making sure. That's interesting, because I think that definitely goes into that whole, Dracula thing, because, he was,
Right.
the ultimate, supernatural creature.
Right. He was all of it.
Vampire, werewolf, and also, a necromancer.
Because he had his bitches.
Yeah, because he had the command of the dead.
Yeah.
So...
He was like, who's... Wait, Keanu.
Kind of. Show some more respect to Gary Oldman. He killed that role.
He did. I
Killed it.
I made him like
I know, it's fine.
a necro pimp.
Wow.
Write that down.
Okay, I'll go with it.
That's an electronic band.
I like it.
EDM.
Okay. Kind of a weird haircut that would go with it, one long side.
Sure.
Okay.
And they have he puts the mask on too, the red mask.
Okay.
He's at
Okay. I got it. Okay. The mask is very important.
Yes.
So then we come down to Americas and the Caribbean, where we have more werewolf.
In the
lore.
Caribbean, really.
Yeah. We'll get to it. So the Nazcapis believe that the caribou afterlife is guarded by giant wolves, which kill careless hunters venturing too near. The Navajo people feared witches in wolves' clothing called Mai Cobb.
They would know too, the Navajo.
They would. When the European colonization of Americas occurred, the pioneers brought their own werewolf folklore with them and were later influenced by the lore of their neighboring colonies and those of the natives. Belief in the loup-garou, present in Canada, the upper and lower peninsulas of Michigan, and upstate New York, originates from French folklore influenced by native stories of the Wendigo.
Right.
Wendigo, shout out.
Wait. Wendigo riff? Nice.
He's good with that. He's always ready.
Yeah.
In Mexico, there is a belief in a creature called the Nahual. Dude, this might even get its own episode. This is,
It should.
it's a bloodthirsty beast, and it's not only always a wolf. Sometimes it's a panther, I believe. Some crazy shit, or a jaguar, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't want to sound like
Like who?
I don't know, chills.
No one does.
Oh yeah, so yeah, it is. It's a Nahual is a human being who has the power to shapeshift into their tonal animal counterpart. So good.
See, but these ones, they're not werewolves. These are other things.
No, a Nahual, they think that the belief in the skinwalker comes from this.
Right. Yeah. Instead of the loup-garous, same thing. It's similar, but there's a lot of differences.
Well, Lou, the word L-O-U-P, Lou means wolf. So it's all in there, man. I mean, just like we said in the beginning of the episode, like the want and the need to transform into some kind of animal other is
That's all
just...
I've ever wanted.
Hey, man, I'm with you.
That's what
I'm into it.
Yeah.
So then we have the... in Haiti, there's a superstition that werewolf spirits known locally as Geru, which mean red eyes, Les Rouges. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm trying here,
You're
people.
trying.
I'm trying.
You're doing great.
Can possess the bodies of unwitting persons and nightly transform them into cannibalistic lupine creatures. Fuck yeah. The Haitian Gerouge typically try to trick mothers into giving away their children voluntarily by waking them at night and asking their permission to take the child, to which the disoriented mother may either reply yes or no. Like, she's like, take these damn kids, I've had it.
Yeah.
It's summer vacation, it's July, there's no end in sight.
Bring them back next year
Yeah.
when they're, make them whatever you are.
Yep. The Haitian Gerouge differ from traditional European werewolves by their habit of actively trying to spread their lycanthropic condition to others, much like vampires.
Right, so like they have a need.
Disease fear.
Yeah, they're like...
More fear of disease.
Yeah, yep.
So,
They like you sneeze. They're like, oh, you're trying to give that shit to me, man?
Bruh.
I'm not trying to be out here hunting livestock at night.
Yep. So now we come to our section on. I mean, there's so much of this. This is werewolf fiction. There is so much that just to try to.
That word fiction, though, man.
It's not fiction. Are you triggered by that?
I mean, everyone can be.
Was that a howl?
I'm trying to. You already disciplined me, so I'm falling back.
Wolf, 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 wolf. Sorry. Scott Howard. Sorry.
You're chanting, Ray. You're chanting.
Yep. I mean, this is insanity. I mean, trying to go over this. I mean, there's literary origins for this. The folklore that we just talked about. I mean, 19th century sees like the beginning of it with a bunch of German publications about your typical werewolf kind of like ravaging like villagers and things like that. So the first, it's kind of crazy. The first literature example of the invention of the werewolf character in books, they actually give to Robert Louis Stevenson's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde because it has a werewolf subtext.
Right.
Right.
Like I was telling you outside when I took the pre-workout.
Werewolf subtexts, which is kind of interesting. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. There's the transformation thing, and then that I think Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde was like the main influence for the Incredible Hulk. I think
it is. Well, the whole idea of like the separation of like I'm one person now, and then I come back and I'm like, oh, I forgot all. Well, oh man.
The feared other. Oh, I don't remember any of that shit.
Yeah.
Don't blame me.
I was really drunk.
Yep. Yeah, man.
What did I say? How many times did you wake up like that? Like, oh no. Mm-hmm. Oh man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. I was just going to mention, just because I'm a fan, there's a Robert E. Howard, the creator of Conan. He has a werewolf story. I'm pretty sure it's called Wolf's Head. I read it a long time ago. Wolf's Head, and it was a fucking banger. I mean, it's Robert E. Howard, so it's you just buckle in. And then technically Lovecraft has a werewolf story. Technically, the Shunned House is technically a werewolf story. A lot of people miss it. Yeah, we'll get to it somewhere. I don't know where. Yeah, and just there's been so many interpretations of werewolves in popular cultures and film and literature, but I think the most prominent would have to be 1941's The Wolfman. I mean, that's everyone's go-to. That's the most notable. I mean, everyone goes to that one, and it's a wolfman, not the werewolf.
Absolutely.
But man, I mean, that captured everybody's imagination with werewolves. I mean, how many things did you have that had the wolfman on it, or like figurines, or like
just bought the NECA Ultimate Wolfman. That's all black and white. That's. Like Jay gifted me a Frankenstein and a NECA one, and I have another weird thing with Frankenstein because of like surgeries and stuff that like I just like identify with that. But like since a kid, like it's like werewolf. Like and Chris was always vampire because he had the pointy uppers, I had the pointy lowers.
Okay. And the battle continues.
Yeah, and the war never ceases. There's no ceasefire. But Yeah, like that was like I remember being at my grandpa's and like he would always have Turner Classic Movies on, and like I would just be like, dude, look at this motherfucker. And there was a fleeting moment when I was like, the creature, but I was like, you know what? Nah, fuck it. But I like him. But
shade at the creature.
I'm just saying he ain't the Wolfman, dog.
No, everyone has their favorite, and I think the Wolfman is kind of like an inroad too, because like that weird transformation thing. I'm sure a million people have fucking said it, but like it's like that puberty thing, right? You come to these monsters when you're young. Yeah. You're like, I'm changing too. I'm getting hairier too. I want to do wild shit too. And then like, oh look, this guy's fucking wild, and like
guys. Everything he just said, he really went through. I saw it and felt it. He was saucy and sassy.
Hey man, werewolves, man. I was there for it too. I mean, I was a Dracula kid, like 100%.
Right.
And like because I was a Dracula kid, I kind of, and I'm guilty of it. I saw the werewolf as lower because it was.
Well, that's why your fruit brute is the way it is.
we gonna go into this?
I'm just saying.
He's the fucking cereal box makes him a dog. Like,
right,
he literally
right.
is.
And you were like, good, good. And you had your medallion on.
And I was like, do it.
Do it.
Now I have to explain this. So for my work, I'm an artist, and I made this reinterpretation sculptures of the cereal monsters, General Mills. So I had to envision them almost as like a team because, people are buying these, they're going to be on a shelf, they have to look good together. So I already had, Frankenberry, Count Chocula, and Boo Berry. So when it was time to do Fruit Brute, I was like, well, I'm kind of almost viewing this as like almost like an X-Men team or some kind of like superhero team.
He's like Beast, but not as smart.
Like Beast, exactly. So I made him more hunched over. He was his bowl, almost like dog bowl of cereal.
Yeah, right.
For visually, I figured...
You thought of me. You were like, this is Ken, I am Count Chocula.
I've never seen you eat out of a fucking bowl on the floor.
That's true. That's true.
Right.
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. But we get
Ken,
it.
is it fine?
It's
fine.
Okay.
It's okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm not, because I'm not taking yours. It's fine. I used it
You
for...
just did it!
I know, I stopped. I stopped.
Yeah. Now you completely fucking threw me off. Yeah. You identify with those characters... and that's, this is going to go into a whole other thing, and I'm going to try to make it not, but, like, yeah, when you're a kid, you come to the monsters because you're like, yeah, man, these, like, human characters, fuck those guys.
Yeah.
There's millions of them out there.
Yeah.
This guy gets to sleep in a fucking castle.
Yeah, okay, Zorro.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's, if you're a monster kid, you understand.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
So, Wolfman, I always see why that speaks to certain people, and 100%, I get it. And
like he smacks the shit out of like people and things.
Yeah.
Like because he never like.
It's the safe strike because they don't want to have to put in like claw marks on people.
And then like he's not punching because he's a wolf. But when he like smacks the shit out of someone, you're like, oh my god.
And his leaping abilities.
Oh yeah, exactly. I'm like, I want to jump like that.
Yeah, and it's fun too because like there's the famous rhyme from the movie. Even a man who is pure in heart and says his prayers by night may become a wolf when the wolfbane blooms and the autumn moon is bright. I mean, come on.
It's wonderful.
It is wonderful. Werewolves, man. They're... I can't... we're going to sit here for 4 hours if I keep going at it.
Well, let's do this. Let's move on.
Yeah, no. I think we are going to. Yeah. So I think this last little section, a little fun section, we went through the, the heavy stuff. Let's talk about some of our favorite werewolf movies.
All right.
It doesn't have to be a favorite. You can talk about a few.
I know. I have a couple.
I have two that come to mind immediately.
Right. Look, honestly, I only have to say this because of the creature design. I love the werewolves in Underworld.
Yeah,
I
they're great
love
looking.
them, and especially in the sequel with the white one, the first one.
The Matrix werewolves.
Yeah, but they're just the design.
No, they look great.
They look great, and they're menacing. They're posing.
Yeah,
and they're just brutal. And I whoever did that, I was like, yo.
Yeah, no, they.
And it was a lot of practical effects too, which I love.
Yeah, cannot argue with that.
Because they did, they made around the same time they made that stupid fucking Van Helsing movie with huge.
We don't talk about that.
Yeah. The only cool thing they did in that was that the werewolf ripped his skin off to expose that underneath he's the werewolf.
Yeah.
But it's all bullshit CGI. But in the same time frame, it's like, hey, Van Helsing, take a lesson from Underworld, because that shit's legit.
Oh no, 100%. Man, there's so many, and they're like they run the gamut, right? Because we mentioned Teen Wolf before,
right?
Dude, what a movie!
Oh, it's so great.
But those are wolfmen.
Yes,
those are not werewolves.
Yes.
I mean, yes, they say werewolf, but for me, I'm just gonna say this again. I'm gonna make the distinction. This is ODP canon here. Yes. We're saying there's werewolves and wolfmen, and I'm gonna stick with that. And I love that movie because, dude, Michael J. Fox.
Give me a keg of beer.
So good.
Surfing on the roof.
Yeah.
And then the
Break
t-shirt.
dancing.
What are you looking at, Dick Nose?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yep.
Come on.
Yep. So good. I mean, it's, that classic 80s. Like, I can hear the soundtrack in my head right now because it's such a weird soundtrack. So, great soundtrack, great score. I still don't understand why when he's in the bathroom and he goes, "You're a party animal," or whatever, and he disappears. I don't know what that is. Werewolves don't disappear.
Yeah.
Or maybe his kind does.
It might be like the people on, chasing Bigfoot, assuming that he has the his fur has the ability to cloak his appearance that we've talked about previously.
Yeah. So morons.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Whoever was thinking, they didn't know werewolf.
All right,
lore.
so that's not one of my picks. I just had to talk about Teen Wolf because yeah. I love that movie. My first pick because it was the first Stephen King book that I read. Okay, and then the adaptation was called Silver Bullet. Gary Busey, out of his mind.
As per usual.
As per usual. That movie has some horrific werewolf scenes.
Right.
And rightfully so, because it's based off of the book that had illustrations by Bernie Wrightson, who was famous for his adaptation of Frankenstein. Also did he was the original illustrator on Swamp Thing. The guy has horror in his blood.
Right.
So the illustrations in that were brutal.
Right.
And I remember as a kid, I was like, oh. Yeah. My mom found that I had it. She was like, let me have that.
Yeah.
And then she crossed out the curse words and gave it back to me. I was like, all right.
You're like, I didn't even care about that.
Yeah. And then I brought it to school, Catholic school, and got an exorcism for reading it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And a couple priests died.
Well, that's the problem. They just did the exorcism, but they didn't do the other bullshit.
Yeah, they didn't scold
mentioned.
you or say your name 3 times.
Right.
You're Christian.
I got excommunicated and became a werewolf. And now we do a podcast.
And now two werewolves, one.
So Silver Bullet, great fucking movie. Has Corey Haim.
Corey Haim, yes.
Right. He's in the wheelchair. Does the whole thing. He calls Silver Bullet. He's the priest turns out to be the fucking werewolf. It's Tarker's Mills. I'll never forget it because it was the first Stephen King book I read. It's just
Midnight Mass stole that idea. And
I don't want to talk about that show.
All right.
It's a hack job.
I liked it.
Me too, but because they stole elements from a lot of Stephen King stuff.
Sure. Well, that's what they do anymore, man.
No, that guy, because what was the Stephen King adaptation that he did? Didn't he do one?
Oh, game. What's his Gerald's Game? Gerald's Game?
Is that what it was? I don't know. That guy bugs me. I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
Because that'll be a whole nother podcast.
Sure. That Bugs Me podcast with Jason McKittrick. It's just you ranting.
Dude, you just be following me around with a microphone.
Yeah.
You know what else fucking grinds my gears?
Yeah, I'm like, Jay, you see that guy over there?
What guy? That guy? Fuck that guy. No, I'm not that angry.
Sure.
Shush. So that's my first. I'm going to come back with another one.
It is a Wolfman, but I'm still calling it a werewolf.
That's cool. It's cool.
Monster Squad.
Oh, beautiful, man.
Dude, it's...
Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite.
For years, I plan on doing a sampling the Lock Me Up and the 3 gunshots into a hip-hop beat and making a song. I plan, but I have another thing coming out in there.
Yeah.
But that werewolf... dude, because it's...
You better get a werewolf song.
You are. Oh, and it might involve a Western. We don't know. Anyway... But so
sounds like something Danzig would be involved in.
Well, mother. But anyway, so you look at it, right, and it's a take on a Wolfman, right?
Yeah.
But he's bigger, right? And he has more wolf. His snout's a little more pronounced,
so good.
Right? It's a little more pronounced. He's fucking scary, right?
Oh hell yeah!
Because when you see a wolf like the Wolfman, the classic, you're like, oh, that's kind of scary. Nah, dog. Monster Squad. Wolfman's got nards is fucking scary.
Yeah, because when they show him transform for the first time, it's fucking amazing because the bubbling on the skin.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that freaked me out as a kid is he's in an ambulance. There's something about that should be safe or something.
Right.
He's in the ambulance, going to the hospital, everything's gonna be all right or whatever, and then just grabs the guy by the face. That werewolf, and then when he transforms in the phone booth, and he's just fuck it. Oh, it's so good.
It is so good. And
then when he finally blows him up, right? Because they go over what are the rules?
Yes,
just right here. There are rules for killing a werewolf, right?
What are the rules? Yeah, and
Silver Bullet. That's it.
And he fucking when he comes back together and he comes out, and you're just like, he's the scariest thing in that movie. The Mummy's cool.
Yeah.
Dracula's bad. Dracula's the coolest.
Dude.
No, that's the coolest Dracula you'll ever see. He is such a cool presence, and it's it is tough to pull off with the classic look. I find. Because a lot of people do it, and you're like, come on.
Well, hold on. Back to where
Euro trash.
Back to Wolfman. He's great because he's the reluctant guy, right? Because after they kill him, after Rudy finally gets the silver bullet, shoots him, he's like, "Thank you," and then just dies.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh,
because he's a slave to that whole thing, man. It's nuts.
Yep.
But that is my my favorite. That's my favorite werewolf.
Yeah. You know what?
Wolfman.
You were gonna say, let's make a werewolves second episode. We just need to do an episode on Monster Squad.
Oh, you got the TV right there, dude.
Yeah. an episode on Monster Squad.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, we don't have to do a commentary, but we can just dude, that's my childhood. That movie, Dracula in that movie is Duncan Regehr. That fucking guy killed it.
Oh yeah.
Meeting a gem.
Yeah.
Blows up the. I will have your son. Transforms into the bat. It's fucking amazing.
One of the most.
His entrance in that movie as the giant bat creature, and then he turns human. And
Yeah. It's
like, I'm wearing a fucking satin
I love
cape.
in the beginning the pilots are talking.
Yeah.
And he's like,
you mean Richie Aprile from The Sopranos?
Yes, Richie Aprile has a fucking great line when he's like,
come on,
I should be having a party, and he's talking, and then the guy comes back and he's like, look at it this way, they don't ask for the little peanuts, and he's like, you're right, this is a great show.
This is a great show. I'm gonna go check it out.
Yeah.
Like, all right, I'll stay here and make spooky sounds.
Yeah, like that's
a controversial one because I get made fun of for this one, but I actually find this movie to be it has an understated, and this is also a Wolfman. Wolf with Jack Nicholson. I think it's a great werewolf movie.
Agreed.
It shows you like the it's put against the whole idea of a guy getting older, losing his manhood, becoming slower, less just less more of a he comes from the publishing world where he kind of has to be a little predatory, a little you got to be fast moving, you got to do, and he's just losing he's lost a few steps. The guy's clearly probably in his late 50s, early 60s, and then he gets he's taking a trip out into New England, and he gets bit by a wolf. And he comes back. He sleeps for a full day. And then wakes up with this new his hair starts getting darker, starts growing back, and he starts wanting to bang his wife again. And he finds out he's cheating on him, but
then he finds a new.
Oh yeah, then he finds Michelle Pfeiffer. She gives him peanut butter and jelly.
Prime Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah, she looks great in that movie. She's at the top of her game in that film. She's great because and then. It's a great movie. I don't care what anyone says. Well, yeah, is it horror? No, but it classes it up.
It's a drama movie with elements.
It classes up the werewolf movie,
right?
Because you have these great actors. You have Jack Nicholson, Michelle Pfeiffer, James Spader.
James Spader. We were talking. Yeah. James Spader fucking puts on a clinic in this movie.
A little bit.
And the thing was too. I remember being a kid and watching that and hating him so much and being like, I fucking hate this guy. Yeah. That's that prick from Stargate. Yeah. I just remember being so upset, right? But then getting older, I'm like, holy shit, this guy acted the fuck out of this.
Yeah.
And he crushed it.
Yeah. No,
great pick.
I love it, man. And if you haven't seen it and you're listening to this and you're like, oh, what is this nonsense? I recommend it. Yeah. It's got great stuff in it. And I think it's because you make the distinction of Wolfman, werewolf.
Right. And there's never a super deep transformation in the movie.
Yeah, he has his big one at the end when there's the battle at the end because James Spader he gets bit by Jack Nicholson because when Nicholson finds out that he's cheating on him with his wife, he confronts him, then he walks away and he tries hey, come back here, and he bites his hand, so then he contracts it.
Yeah.
Because in this they have there's that part where they have the spiritual guru guy who's talks to him about the wolf and the nature of the wolf, and he's you can be either bit by a werewolf or you can be I think it was persuaded by the passion of the wolf, and that's how Michelle Pfeiffer becomes the werewolf. Because at the end they show her eyes transform, and then that guy who's telling him, the guru guy, he's like, "Could you bite me?" He's like, "What?" He's like, "I'm dying of cancer. Could you bite me?" And he's like, "No, I can't do that." And it's kind of oh fuck, that's The movie's multifaceted, and but then he goes berserk because then he goes out at night and starts slaying people in Central Park and shit. It's fucking great, man.
It is a great movie. It is a great movie. You're absolutely.
And
right.
he has that transformation scene at the end when he battles James Spader's werewolf, and they're all going, and they're he kind of almost looks like a berserk Wolverine at the end because he's got his look has almost like a Wolverine kind of look.
But where I think there's a scene in From Dusk Till Dawn that bites directly from a look in that scene is when Quentin Tarantino's full vampire and then Richie looks at him and he has that scene where he's doing that and it's him again totally bit off that scene of Jack Nicholson right before that fight scene where it's you're like
yeah, because he's got the medallion on that stops him from transforming, and then he rips it off. So good.
It's so good.
So good. So anyone who doesn't like this movie can get fucked.
I guess closing statements on this?
Hold on, buddy.
Oh.
We were going to mention one of our favorite pop culture werewolves that maybe is a little bit underrated and doesn't get mentioned enough.
Oh yeah. Well, no, Wolfman gets a lot of love from the wrong fucking people, but a werewolf that doesn't get enough love
Or just one you want to mention that we didn't mention in this episode.
Shit.
It doesn't have to be movies. It could be from a book,
Yeah,
it could
no,
be a cartoon,
I'm
a
trying to
TV
think.
show.
Well, you didn't play Elden Ring, did you? No.
No, I didn't. Go ahead. Plenty of people do.
Blatted.
Okay.
He is a wolf. Well, he's a wolf man.
Oh,
and he's
cool.
a knight.
Oh, wow.
Oh, dude.
That's cool.
Oh, and then if you play it right, you end up having to fight him, and you unlock his armor and his mask, and you can run around as a werewolf in Elden Ring.
That's awesome.
And it's Jay.
That was my favorite part of, because the last one of those games that I played, like, I know it's a while ago, but it was Skyrim, and you could turn into a werewolf in that game.
Right, yeah.
And I remember playing as a werewolf, and I could kill a dragon as a werewolf. I was like, this is fucking amazing.
Right.
And I mean, he was a werewolf, because it was
Yeah.
cool, because it was that big, hulking, like, wolf creature with the tail.
Right.
Not a wolf man, a fucking werewolf.
Yeah. That's my
That's awesome.
Not getting a lot of love werewolf.
Okay, yeah, I never even heard of it.
And he's well spoken, like you're on his team, like
That's cool.
Yeah. I'll show you him.
No, yeah, I'll have to
Yeah.
check that out. My pick for that is, so of course it's gonna have to come up, but November 11th, 1992, my favorite cartoon series of all time premiered the episode known as Moon of the Wolf. That's Batman the Animated Series.
Ah, okay.
The best Batman, don't at me, squaring off against a fucking werewolf. Remember?
I don't. Dude.
Really?
I don't. Honestly, I don't. I'm sorry.
Great episode. The guy
I
was,
watched.
Okay, the guy was an Olympic athlete. All right, he was at the top of his game. Starts to get a little bit older, and he's like, I need some kind of supplement. I need something. So he turns to this doctor. He's like, what can I do? What can I do? He's like, well, I developed this serum, but it could have side effects. So he gives it to him. He like crushes it. Like
Famous
wins the
last
Olympics. Like discus.
Right.
Shot put. Like all the old school ones. Track and field, javelin throwing. All the old school ones. He crushes it, every single one. But he takes this thing, and it fucking turns him into a werewolf. So
awesome.
It's so good. And then and then of course Batman shows up, saves the day, finds an anti-serum, and wins the day. But it's Batman,
And the rest is history.
the rest is history. But it's Batman fighting this beast of a fucking werewolf.
I know what I'm doing later.
And it's cool too, because you know how great the music is in that, right?
Yes.
They go for electric guitar for his theme. It's like, it's so good. It's so good. So if you haven't seen this, you're in for a treat.
I'm going back.
Yeah.
So later tonight.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite episodes, and it just comes out of nowhere because they had to come out around Halloween.
Right.
And those in that series, the title cards with these painted pictures, and it was like Moon of the Wolf, and it was this shadow of a werewolf. It's so good. One of my favorites.
Fuck yeah.
Yep.
Well, I guess on that note, closing statements, my friend.
You tell me closing statements.
Wolfman's got nards.
Yeah, he does. I can't beat that. Wolfman's got nards.
There it is.
Yeah.
All right, guys, for this episode of the Dangerous Podcast, I'm Ken James.
And I'm Jason McKittrick.
And as always, have a spooky evening. Thank you for listening to Other Dangerous Podcasts. Have you encountered the other dangers? If so, you can email us at otherdangerouspodcast@gmail.com. And if you'd like to have a discussion about the paranormal, you can find us at Other Dangerous Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. There you can find submitted pictures, videos, and artwork from listeners. We are now streaming on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere else podcasts are streamed. And after listening, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so we can continue to bring you the other dangers.